Let's start off, okay? And I want to ask you because I've been wondering from a long time, what today gives you peace? Like, what do you find peace in?
So peace, I think, as a high schooler, I think it's something
It's hard,
which,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to think of what gives me peace, but um, getting my work done, doing what I'm expected to, right, at this age, completing my work in advance, I think, and having a lot of free time, I think that gives me peace right now.
Okay, that's a very common answer because I talk to a lot of people my age and they say being productive gives them peace. And I really started to think about it. Like, why does being productive give you peace? Because I feel like being productive is hard.
Hmm.
I find that people are finding it hard to be productive, especially our generation, because of the amount of distractions. What are your thoughts?
I think for me, not being productive gives me peace, but because of the consequence of it, which is I get a lot of free time. The free
Okay.
time is basically an outlet for my peace, and I can
Huh.
only get that because I'm productive. Whether that's my school studies or extracurriculars, wherever I have to put my time. If I can do that in a set period of time consistently, before, like without delaying it so much, I think that could be a place where I get peace, and that's why
So
production
wait,
is important.
I get that. And so basically, your sort of thesis is that if I finish certain tasks that I'm supposed to do, the
Hmm.
free time that I get after that gives me real peace.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Don't you also feel like when you finish tasks or when you
Hmm.
do something, you feel like you want to do more, or does that not happen with you?
It does happen, but there's only a limit to which you can do anything. So I
Yeah.
think setting your goals prior, like in terms of what we'll speak afterwards, eye care equality, having set goals about it, and also even in like school studies, you're only supposed to do a little bit at a time. So if I can make sure that I have my to-do list or go set goals that I have to achieve, after doing that, of course, I should have time for myself also.
Okay. Uh, what gives you fulfillment? What gives you satisfaction?
So for fulfillment or like what gives me peace overall, I don't know how much I follow it, but it's something which is adapted from my parents. They,
Okay.
like I said, they always believe in doing things at the earliest, not leaving anything for the last moment. Because, for example, in exams also, anything could happen at the last moment. You might get tired, you might have a headache. So, but because if you're prepared from the start, you've done everything at the earliest, you won't have to face any of those issues. So I think if you follow that, I think that can amount in a lot of fulfillment.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this very cliched question. I feel like a lot of people get asked this.
Hmm.
What would you rather prefer, materialistic possessions or self actualization?
It's really hard to choose between the two,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
a mixture of two, like there's this very common point of debate: is money necessary for happiness? What I feel is it's quite related to the question that you asked. What I feel in that topic is, of course, you need a little bit of material wealth or a little bit of possession because it makes life easier for you. It can eliminate a lot of problems that you have. It can lead to comfort, if not luxury. And
Okay.
I think that can lead to fulfillment. And continuing on the question that you asked earlier, what gives me fulfillment? I think a part of me also gets fulfillment when I help people, when I understand that when I exercise my power on empathy. And I think also I get fulfillment when I make my parents proud in general.
Okay. Okay. What do you think makes your parents proud?
I think that the least thing that they expect from me is to do my to stay happy. That's the first thing that
Okay.
they expect from me.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, And the second thing is, of course, to do well at academics and also on my extracurricular activities.
Interesting. Wait, you spoke about happiness, right?
Hmm.
Um, what do you think makes you happy?
Mm, what makes me happy? I
It's
think,
it's very hard. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
quite
mean,
hard. But spending time with my friends, doing the things
okay.
that I like. Like I've recently started playing golf, like I was telling you before the podcast.
Hmm. Hmm.
Spending time over there and hanging out with my friends also makes me happy. Or doing something which I thought I could not do. Like earlier, I did not never thought that I would be on a podcast. I never thought I would give
Yeah.
speeches.
Yeah.
So after doing that, I get a lot of fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because I asked you that question
Hmm.
because I feel like it's a very common question, but the answer for that is so hard to find too.
Yeah.
I'm 19 and I don't think I've found what makes me like truly happy. Of course,
Hmm.
you said hanging out with your friends, doing new things. That does make me happy. But what is something I would do that I would be happy for if I were to do for the rest of my life? And that does
That's
not
good.
specifically have to be, like profession. It can be
Hmm.
anything. And I think that's very hard to find. And I feel like there's not many people who found that. So I just wanted your thoughts on it.
Hmm.
And I think that also closely links with the point of purpose, especially for I see you as a very ambitious guy.
Hmm.
I'd like to see myself as someone who's pretty ambitious. So, what are your thoughts on this whole find a purpose when you're young so you can dedicate your whole life to it? What are your thoughts on all that?
So I was recently invited to this school in Kathmandu to give a speech as a
Okay.
motivational speaker,
Yeah.
and this is something which one of my friends told me, that even an Instagram reel can motivate you,
Hmm.
but that's temporary, of course, right? Uh, all The main thing that we need is dedication and discipline, like, and as you said, purpose also, because you might be ambitious, but if you're sitting at home, you're doing nothing, where will you use that ambition? You need an outlet, for which you need an outlet where you can put those that energy, that ambition, and that uh, without that, I don't think you can do much. And finding a passion early on, I think, gives you a lot of chances to do trial and error. You can fail a lot of times, and that is, of course, what will teach you. Like, we always hear about these big businessmen, how they have made so many startups that failed. Like, I follow this guy called Aman Gupta. You might know him,
Yeah,
founder of,
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So he made various startups from what I've seen, and they all failed. But now we know that how big of a company Boat is.
Yeah. And it's because I was reading this very interesting thing, right, and about how to find purpose, and it's pretty funny. So the guy basically says, lock yourself up in a room with just the light, no electronic gadgets, and just stare at the wall for 2.5 hours, and you will
Hmm.
find what your purpose is.
Hmm.
I mean, I haven't done it yet. I don't want to do it because it sounds pretty absurd. But that was just an interesting way to sort of find your purpose. Because purpose is complex, man. Can you just tell me what you think of purpose as a concept? Because a lot of people say, yeah, purpose is what you like doing and what you want to do to be successful. But I feel like purpose as a concept is way more deeper. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
the example that you mentioned right now, stare at a wall for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I just my inference, but I think it is an attempt to make sure that you understand what you actually want, what you would dedicate your whole life to. For example, like in those 2.5 hours would be quite like difficult, sitting
Yeah.
just with the light on. So something you would obviously think of something which makes you happy, as you said. So purpose, I think, is what you leave for others and the world to see, what imprint you can leave on the world.
Interesting.
It's I think it, of course, should have an element of happiness or an element of your liking. Otherwise, it's not true. It's not a true purpose. You're just doing it maybe for the money, or maybe
Yeah.
for some of the other material thing.
Okay. No, that's very interesting. Okay. So you made a point about how something that would you would do for the rest of your life to leave impact, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I feel like that's fair. I've never thought about it in that perspective. Yeah, man. Cool, cool, cool. Um, do you is that something that excites you, leaving impact?
Yeah, of course. I
What
think
about it? Hmm.
if you can impact someone's life and you can make their life easier or happier in any sense of way, I think that's something which is really nice, and it's like God's work or in some way.
Yeah, yeah. Do you believe in leaving impact on society, or does that not matter to you? You might as well just leave impact on individual people.
I think, like, how do you define society? It's group of
Let's say
individuals.
um, you make some invention
Hmm.
that the world uses, and now something's better because of you. And on an individual level, that can be you, let's say, funding a poor person's education for the rest of his life, so he'll be grateful to you forever, right? And he can fulfill his potential thanks to you. So that's what I mean by individual and society as a whole.
Okay, so I think that society on a whole is a larger level, larger scale for this. But
Yeah.
of course, on, like, I am a high school student, you are in college. For us, we can start with individuals, but as we get successful, we can go to the society as a whole. Right now, I think for me, fulfillment is through individuals only.
Okay. And you're trying to achieve fulfillment by your ventures, and let's talk a little bit about them.
Hmm.
I can see I carry quality. So what about it, man?
Yeah, so in very simple terms, to explain eye care equality, I'll explain what a blue collar worker is firstly.
Okay.
So, a blue collar worker is basically skilled or unskilled worker, not from the agricultural workforce. So, in India, there are about 80% of all the non agricultural workforce. So, in eye care equality, what we simply do is visit factories, offices, and schools and test the eyes of all blue collar workers in that institution. We take a doctor's team with us and we give a free medical prescription, free reading glasses, eye drops, and we prescribe the distance glasses.
Okay.
So, on a superficial level, I think it's quite difficult to understand without visual reference. But I'll just explain the procedure of how we set up a camp. So, we visit the workplace like a factory. We have a registration desk over there. So the employee comes there, gets their name, father's name, age, contact number, all of these things written in a proper register, and they're given a medical prescription. Then they move on to a testing by a refractometer, which is a machine, which is an eye testing machine. You also wear spectacles. The first step is to get your eyes tested by a machine. One interesting thing about eye care is that it's the only medical field. I don't come from a medical background, or nor does my family, but this is all that I've learned. That in only in eye care, the machine is not the most precise thing. You need human intervention. You need the optometrist, because vision is something which is based on touch and feel. It's not like an internal organ that the doctor can assess, or the machine can assess directly. It's about how you feel when you wear a spectacle. So then we move on to the doctor's reading. They manually test the worker, and then they go back to the registration desk, where they get the spectacles, eye drops, or anything that they are required to. We eye care equality, by the names suggests that we care about equality, because I in the name sounds like I, which means me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we give them choices for the frames, color selections, shapes also, because it's the least that we can do. We give all the options and they can choose from that. And till date, we have tested about 3,700 workers like this in the same process.
That's insane. Why do you choose the eye to why eyes?
Yeah, so I go by this saying that if you have vision, you have everything. You can do so much. but without vision, life could be so difficult to navigate. And this
Hmm.
statement, both in literal and metaphorical terms, even with the vision and the purpose that you mentioned in life, if you don't have that, life could be so difficult. And I think eye is the most basic thing that a human needs. Like, if you can see something, you can think about doing that. So I think it's the most basic. That's why I try to choose that.
Okay, I feel like this also links with your point that you made about impact.
Hmm.
You impacting so many blue collar workers. um, you started off with helping a few, and then that moved to helping, let's say, so many people across so many factories. So
Hmm.
that's exactly what you said about helping individual people first and then impacting society as a whole.
Yeah. So I, if you allow, I'll talk about how we found it.
Okay, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I come from a business family, both from my father's and mother's side, where they're all into business. I've seen my like as a child, I used to go to my dad's office. The amount of respect that he used to get, all seeing all of that really wanted me to also venture into business. So from a very young age, I used to visit his office, many factories, many different businesses, and the how we stemmed the business idea of eye care equality, or where it originated from, was also from visiting one of his construction sites, where they had initially ordered a little bit extra marble or tile, but towards the end, like you have to manually cut it on the on the work site. So to as they approached the finishing of the building, it actually came out to be short. So
Okay.
me and my dad were just talking, like, how did it become short? You had ordered extra. And then we went to the worker or the karigar that was working over there. I saw the workplace over there. It was quite dimly lit. There was a lot of dust over there. As you know, and I come from Delhi, so there's a lot of pollution that can also affect your eyes. So the first moment that I saw them, their eyes were red, and while you cut those tiles or marbles, as per them, they were cutting it straight, but in reality, it was being haphazardly, or a little bit of mistake was happening in the cutting, and that was the
Because
reason.
because their eyes were affected.
Yeah, because they had a problem in their reading, like
Okay.
the plus vision.
Yeah.
So that was the first person. My dad, on our own expense, we took them to a hospital and they got their eyes tested. And that was the moment that I understood how important one's eyes could be. So this was the basic place where I understood I could do something with this. I talked to my parents about this. They were quite supportive. And the first pilot that we did, like the first to understand whether this idea has merit or not, we went to a factory of Mr. Ashish Gupta. He's a friend of my dad. The factory was called Hina Industries Private Limited. We started with 100 workers, and you'll be shocked by what we found out. We found that about 90% of all the workers needed eye care, whether it was
Yeah.
eye drops, reading glasses, or distance glasses. So that was when I understood that this idea has a lot of merit and we should definitely scale this up.
That's interesting, bro. And I feel like you just visited one factory, right? And how many factories have you helped out in total?
So total till now we have done 17 locations. This is across 4 states. So we have gone till Rajasthan, and we've also covered Haryana and Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. And I
Okay.
also did one international ICAM, which was in Kathmandu, Nepal.
Damn. Okay. Okay. Um, how are these how are these blue collar workers' lives like? Can you talk to me a little bit about their sort of struggles and uh, their sufferings with work?
Mhm. Yeah. So the first, like when we were doing these camps, I also wanted to do interviews and testimonials just to understand their perspective as well. So the first thing that we noticed was uh, they are not very aware or not very used to this idea of prevention before cure. So in while we are getting educated in schools, colleges, we are always taught that you should try to prevent a disease before even it happens. But with them, I've noticed that until something major happens, they don't tend to go to the doctor. So if you have a power, everyone has a power like point 0.5 or 1, and you don't wear spectacles, it's only going to increase in the future.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah.
something which they don't realize. And the reason behind this is, one, they have a lot of lack of time. Most of the time is spent in these factories, offices, schools. Most of the then they have, of course, their household things also to manage. And the second thing is the financial constraint that they deal with. Like us, we're privileged enough, but maybe they can't afford to go to the doctor every 6 months or every 1 year, or to wear spectacles, even, or get a whole body checkup. So that is, I think, something that they deal with. And effort, we should of course make efforts to make their lives better.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And when you did provide them eye care, and I'm assuming you did all
Mm.
of this like sort of free of cost to them,
Yeah, free of cost.
how did they sort of react? What was their like? I'm sure they would have also realized how much care their eyes needed, and did
Hmm.
that change their perspective on getting help, getting medical help quicker, and just taking care of themselves more? Did that solve
Yeah.
that problem?
Yeah. So there was firstly an element of shock. So many workers that we interacted with never knew that they could ever have any eye problem. They thought that our eyes are working fine, we can see normally. But so after getting their eyes tested, there was firstly an element of shock, that how can we have a problem with our vision. Then there was also a lot of excitement and gratefulness that everything is being done at free of cost. Like while receiving spectacles, they were so happy, and that also gave me a lot of joy, to be honest. No amount of numbers or anything can outnumber that feeling for me. And moving on to the point that you said, may yeah, it could have inculcated a feeling of prevention before cure in
Yeah,
them.
and I feel like that's a very big problem that needs to be solved, and you're doing your bit to solve that, and that's
Yeah.
something that I sort of really look up to, right? Because when because I feel like a lot, like most of India is rural. I think I'm pretty accurate in saying that, and a lot of these problems need to be solved.
Hmm.
So yeah, um, how long ago did you start this?
So we started in September 2023, so about 1.5
So
year
about
now.
a year and a half. Yeah. And what's the growth been like? What sort of growth have you experienced?
So the starting was quite slow. We had done about 200 workers in about 2 months, and the mission was also like that. I had aimed of doing 500 workers in 6 months, and about 2,000 workers before I go to college, which was about 2 years of time span from then. But due to God's grace and because of the success that we have had, we have tested 3,700 workers, like I said, in less than 1.5 year now. And now we plan to do about 5,000 uh, in the next 6 months, like a total of 5,000 in the next 6 months. The initial growth was quite slow. In the first 6 months, we had done about 500, but then we picked up because with factory owners, a big problem is that while starting out, I thought that factories would approach us and anyone we pitch this idea to would agree, because we're coming to your workspace, we're doing it all for free. It just takes 5 minutes per worker. It doesn't disrupt the workflow at all. But factory owners wouldn't agree to our request. They thought the main concern that they had was, if we like if you come and do the checkup for eyes, what about the workers' legs, hands, and other organs?
Hmm. Damn.
You will
Okay.
check the eyes, but they'll come tomorrow demanding to check their legs and hands and every other thing.
That's very interesting. Okay. Hmm.
And also, I don't know why they thought this, but maybe they thought that the workers would get a sort of hope. They would maybe start demanding more from the factory owners, which is something they did not want.
Okay.
to
Okay,
this
okay.
venture, maybe they start asking more to the factory owner, like they start demanding more.
Hmm. That actually makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, okay. And how what did you respond to that? What did you say that because you got success in the end, right? You've helped so
Yeah,
many
so
factories.
as I said that uh, like the trajectory was slow, but then it went really high because of the credibility that we built. So a factory, what does a factory owner want? He wants good pictures and like the he wants to see what we are actually doing at similar workplaces to theirs. So once we did 2 3 camps, we used to send like a PDF file which had the photos of every camp, the locations, the factory details, everything. So that built a lot of credibility, and that was how we got a lot more factories. And talking about more ups, like the even the central government recognized us. So
That's
there's this
crazy.
yeah, so there's this part of the central government called CRRI, CSIR,
Hmm.
which is basically the Central Road Research Institution. So they were doing this National Road Safety Month, and they also understood that the so like the traffic police, they stand on roads for 8 to 12 hours a day. They understood that the pollution, dust, everything that we have in Delhi right now could have a lot of effect on their eyes. So the chief principal scientist over there, Mrs. Farhat Azad ma'am, she approached us. She asked that if we could do a camp for the traffic police of Delhi.
Okay.
So we agreed to that. We did a camp for about 51 police officers,
How was that?
and that was crazy. The setup was like none other that we have seen because factories are basically in the outskirts. This was done in Chhatrasil Stadium, which is bang in the center of Delhi. The top officials, the ACP, DCP, everyone from the police had come. Their whole team of scientists had come. My team of volunteers, my doctor team, everyone had went. So we had a lot of exposure. We had a lot of interaction with them. Then we were also called to their headquarters to get facilitated. So it was quite
Damn.
amazing to see, and it was quite a humbling moment that even the central government appreciates these efforts these days, and even they want
Yeah.
to encourage young people like us.
Yeah. How was meeting such senior officials like? Did they and what did you find in their eyes? How was that sort of result?
So for the traffic police, also we had similar results. Quite a high amount of people who had needed vision care.
Hmm.
We so we also checked for color blindness. We checked for chalazion, motiabind, which is cataract, black cataract. Also,
Can you explain those briefly?
yeah. So color blindness is when you cannot see a
Okay.
particular
Yeah.
color or you see a color in a different sort of way. Motiabind or cataract is when you have a sort of white layer on your retina. So retina is the black part that you see.
Yeah.
You develop a white layer because of which you start seeing hazily.
Hmm. Okay.
Then
Understood.
Calasian, I think, or pterygium is like a like a red cyst that you develop over your eye. These are quite medical terms. I'm not 100% sure about them,
No
but
problem. Yeah.
the doctors check for all these things as well. So we had cases. I think we found one cataract, one Calasian, and one pterygium over there. So
Interesting.
those officers were called to the doctor's main clinic where they'll get uh, finally tested for that. And
How do you find doctors?
so for the doctor team also it was a quite difficult process. We I searched online only for optometrists near me. I went to 3 or 4 in the starting.
Okay.
All of them gave us like we'll see like this sort of response.
Hmm.
But finally we
Stalling
found this,
basically.
yeah, stalling us.
Hmm.
And because I don't know, but they did not want to say no to a ambitious child or something.
Correct.
But
Correct.
finally, we found this doctor called Bhagwat Prasad ji.
Hmm.
He's in the Holy Family Hospital. It's a very reputed hospital in Delhi. He had he agreed with our vision. He had a similar goal. He also runs a charitable trust on his own, besides from his work at the hospital. and
Hmm.
they're quite big. They've tested about 2 lakh workers in total, and so he agreed with us and agreed to give us a doctor team.
Okay, so
So
he's given you your team. So okay, yeah.
So we basically tell them the details that we are having this factory visit. If you are available, please confirm, and then they come and they test the workers at
Okay,
charitable rate from us.
okay. So then that makes it easier for you because you've got a whole team that's just working for you
Yeah.
full time.
No, not full time. They're
Okay,
outsourced. So we give them
peace.
a price which is a charitable rate from their end,
Okay,
and then
okay,
they do the testing and provide prescription reading glasses and eye drops. And we prescribe distance glasses. That's also an interesting thing because you might have distance glasses, I am assuming.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Distance
they
classes.
take 2 to 3 days in the making, and so firstly, there's a hassle to get them distributed at the factory. Maybe one day like labor is present, another day they're absent. So number one is the hassle. Secondly, many times even you might have noticed that once you get a new glass, you have headaches in the first few days. Maybe it doesn't suit
Agreed.
you. Not every
Yeah,
part to suit you.
yeah, yeah. It
Maybe
does.
you
Yeah,
have a 2 and 2.5, but in reality you
yeah,
might need a 2.5 to 2.25, 2.25.
yeah, yeah.
So those are the challenges with distance glasses. So we prescribe them and then the worker can get them made on their own.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
Do you provide some sort of compensation to the worker? Because I feel like that would also be expensive, right? Getting the
So
glasses.
we connect the doctor team with them.
Yeah, okay.
The so like if you see normally Lenskart and all these big brands, you
Hmm.
might get glasses for 2 3 thousand and maybe even more, but with them we I think the rate is 500, so quite charitable rate.
That's okay. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. No, this is impact, right? This is. Hmm. All this is completely funded by you, or have you taken funding from elsewhere?
So we did to begin with, we started with crowdfunding.
Okay.
So
How was
in
that
the
like?
yeah, so I'll explain the journey. So I think with eye care, the main problem, if you ask me, was building a good team. Building a team is easy, but building a good team is quite difficult. Many, like high schoolers, we're all high schoolers only volunteering. Many students are interested to join us, but this is my passion project. I have a lot of determination and passion for this, but maybe another person does not have the same level of it. So we can't work it out. uh, like to work with me, you need a minimum of like maybe the same level of passion.
Yeah.
So I approached my best friend Vivan Berry. He joined us at the as the head of fundraising. He was my first member only, and then today I'm proud to say that we have about 50 volunteers. A majority of those are in fundraising. So fundraising is basically when you ask your friends, family, parents, or their parents, friends, everyone for funds. And till date, we have raised about 5 lakh rupees, which has
Wow.
funded everything. As we
Okay.
so it started with crowdfunding. And as we got a little bit of success, we also started to get the CSR funds of private limited companies. So uh, that is basically the corporate social responsibility fund,
I understood.
which
Yeah. Yeah.
which the companies have to give to a social cause. So we have received a little bit of that. We also received a grant of 10,000 rupees because of this government camp that we set up
By the government itself.
by CRRI, CSIR.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, and it's all bootstrap. We funded like that only.
How many sort of departments do you have inside this? So you have one team that's fundraising and another team, I guess, who handles operations and another that handles finances. How's that like?
Yeah, so for finances, I handle it.
Okay.
We have operations team, we have a fundraising team, we also have a social media team.
Okay. Okay. All the people in the team are high schoolers, right?
Yeah, all high schoolers. they're from class 12 all the way to class ninth.
Okay. Okay. How do you inculcate a volunteer? Do you interview them? Is there a sort of process to getting in?
Yeah, so right now we're only wanting fundraising volunteers because
Okay.
the other things are handled quite well.
Okay.
So begins with an interview only, a casual call that if they're actually passionate about the project, why they want to do it, what's the goal of their fundraising, how much they can fundraise, and uh, we initially teach them fundraising. So I have head of departments, like two three teams of fundraising, and the heads over there teach them fundraising, like the message that you'll send, the link that you'll send, if they have any doubts what you can explain, and we
Perfect.
give them all the pictures, everything, and then they like start working.
That's really impressive, bro. For a, I'm assuming you're 17, 18.
17.
For a 17-year-old to be involved in so many operations and understand what how business works, organizations, these are concepts that you learn in commerce, right, in 11th
Yeah.
and 12th, and you're
Mhm.
practically doing it. So I must say that this is highly, highly impressive, bro, and I'm very uh, like genuinely like proud of you
Thank
for
you.
pulling all this off, because it must be hard.
Yeah.
And if I lived in Delhi, I would definitely try and would like to, if I ever do visit Delhi, I'd like to give you a call and try and volunteer myself. um,
Yeah, I would
Maybe
love
help
to have you in
with a
camp.
yeah, maybe help out in a few fundraisers and see how that goes, because all these 50 guys would feel like they're making an impact.
Yeah.
And I guess for most of these guys that would give them fulfillment.
Mhm.
So that's why I guess you'd have so many people who want to jump into this project of yours and help in, right? That's why that's what's bringing me in, at least because I want to make impact.
And
So
even for these volunteers, we it's quite difficult to get anyone into a factory. Like when we go to factories, they try to limit the people that you're bringing. They in many factories, photos, videos are strictly not allowed because
okay,
an iCamp is happening over here. Your production is right behind. So we have visited a lot of clothing factories. So they do designs 1 year prior or 6 months prior or a season prior. So of
okay,
course you can't tweak their designs by
yeah,
clicking pictures. And we've also
correct,
visited a lot of steel, ingot, metal, or fans factories. So they also have a lot of trademark copyright issues. So they try to limit the amount of people coming into their factories, but we try to make sure that we taking all the volunteers. We put a message in the common group that we're doing a camp over here. If you want to join us, you can come and see the real thing happening in person.
incredible. What are some of the other challenges that you have? Can you talk to me about like the lowest of lows during these 1.5 years? Because I'm sure there are a lot of lows. In fact, there'll be more lows than highs, if I'm not wrong.
I think the lowest of lows were not getting factories in the starting. It was in the starting only, but because we were quite excited, we made a website, we made a social media account, we started posting, meet the team, everything
Hmm.
which had to be done in the starting, we did all of that.
Yeah.
We created a YouTube channel for us, we created LinkedIn,
The
we created
okay.
everything. But
Yeah.
then the reality hit that you did one camp, it's okay. But how do
Hmm.
you uh, how do you move forward from this?
Hmm.
You, like how do you find factories? Where do you get the workers from? Can't, because we are targeting blue collar workers. You can only find
Yeah.
them in workplaces. We're not targeting like a random anyone. We're targeting specifically blue collar workers, and even if you look at our logo, it's blue in color, just to emphasize on the because we're working for blue collar workers.
Yeah.
So the only way of finding them is through a factory or a workplace. And we can't have the doctor team visiting us for checking 10 or 20 workers. We need sizable, at least 100 workers at a place.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
very big challenge, like to find factories in the starting. But then we did cold calls, cold emailing, references from all the volunteers, references from my parents. And through that, we've got factories. And still, we're looking at a way as to which we can optimize this whole process. Maybe we take this online, maybe we build a website, like where factory owners can directly punch in like their requirements. We need an eye testing done for these many workers, this location. But as I said, there's a lot of issue. I think it's the mindset that we have, that we don't want to help our workers. How much, like, and also I think many people don't understand that motivation for your workers is not only through money.
Hmm.
Like, uh, it's okay, you give them a wage, salary, compensation, but it could also be different factors like happiness,
Hmm.
fulfillment. You, like in the US, we see that these big, or generally big corporates take you on field trips. They do like activities in the workspace. So I think incorporating that in the Indian workspace would also be quite like rewarding only, because if you keep your workers happy, they'll lead to a better efficiency and productivity.
Yeah. Yeah. You've made some great points there. Uh, and I want to, that takes me to this whole question of um, how much do you get done in a day, right? Uh, what are your, do you find yourself procrastinating a lot?
So up till class 9 or 10, I think I did not used to procrastinate at all. Like all
Hmm.
my work used to get done before time. As I
Hmm.
said, like what gets me fulfillment, that was happening. But now I don't know why, as I approach class 10, 11, 12, procrastination started happening. And I think the only way around it is through your own mindset. Like you very well know, you and only you know that what work you have to get done, and only you are restricting yourself that acha theek hai, I'll do it later, or I'll do it in some time. And I think the ideally all the people around you should be saying that get your work done, but it's only your brain that's restricting you.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, what have you done to stop procrastination?
So I think just having, because we are dealing with so much, every student in today's world is dealing with so much, their assignments, the homework and presentations and whatnot. So I think just having it in your brain isn't enough. I think you should pen it down, you should make a to-do list, or like the things that you have to get done, and start ticking them off. Once you start doing that, I think that gives you a lot of motivation, and you start doing more than you thought you could do.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Um, I find this interesting conversation very interesting with you because you're someone who has operated in business without knowing or having the theory about real business, right? You're still learning, you're still in, I'd say, 11th, 12th grade. And I feel like if you can execute business without learning the theory that we're supposed to study, anyone can do it. I think you're a living example of that. What are your thoughts on the whole education?
I
I feel
think
like that's also useful. I feel like that's the
hmm,
base. I feel like a lot of people these days undermine education and what we're taught, like mainstream education. Yeah, what are your
yeah, I
thoughts?
think there's this new perception, maybe the Gen Z perception, that education is not important. But I don't know why, but I think that education is quite important. You can't just uh, get dropped out of high school or get dropped out of college. And even the examples that we have are one in a million, and they got into colleges like Harvard. It's not
Yeah,
any man's job to do that.
yeah, yeah.
So I think we idealize maybe the examples which are quite rare, and many people, based upon those examples, try to say that education is not important. But as per me, it's quite important. All the things that I've learned in school, like I had economics, commerce, business studies, all these subjects up from class 9. And as I said, I come from a business family, so this is what our dinner table talks are about. I have gone to the factories, business offices from a very young age, so I've seen that. So based upon the things that I've learned in my classroom and the things that I've experienced from such a young age, that's only the reason which I'm being able to do that. And I of course have the support of my parents, my grandparents, everyone. and they also teach me a lot, and I think that's the reason why I can do it.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think the whole idea of dropping out has been exemplified and like exaggerated on YouTube and other
Hmm.
social media platforms. I feel like that's the issue that I have. It's yeah, dropping out is great. You can drop out if you want, but there's 9 out of 10 times that's not going to work for you unless you're extremely determined and you really want to do it, right?
Yeah, I
And
think you can, if you have this much passion, do it side by side. And
exactly, yeah,
if it becomes something so substantial, then think of dropping out. I think till college, you a basic education should be done.
100%. And I mean, sure, you can learn so much from YouTube. I feel like there's a lot of skills that you can learn,
Mm.
probably better than the courses that are offered in college. But yeah, man, as a whole, college and school gives you so many other benefits that outweigh the cons, the pros of dropping out.
Yeah,
So that's
even for school, I think school builds the muscle that you need. Like a lot of my friends have seen this attitude in general that we won't study, but we'll do great things in life. But I
yeah,
think that the main thing is not the studying part, but it's the discipline that you create.
the working hard part. Yeah,
Yeah, the working hard, the building of the muscle to work hard.
yeah, yeah.
If
That's
you
so
if you have a laid back attitude from like you've not even lived 10% of your life, if you have a laid back attitude from right now, then of course the laziness or the procrastination will continue. It's something very hard to break.
makes sense for sure. And another very interesting point that you made about having that building that discipline of working hard, right? You study, sure, maybe what you're studying is outdated, but you're building that habit of working hard, and that
Mhm.
stays with you for long. That compounds. So yeah, man, very interesting, very interesting. There's this huge debate, right, about because I've heard a lot of people that say, "Oh, if you want to make the most money, you should do enter a field that you're not that people are not passionate about." Or
Yeah.
I think Nikhil Kamath has also said this that if you are entering a field that many people are passionate about, the chances of you succeeding are less.
Yeah, even I saw that clip. I
Yeah,
think they were talking about restaurants where he said
restaurants, yeah,
there's not a lot of money to be made because
restaurants and
people
even
are so
movies. I think,
passionate.
yeah,
Yeah, even movies. There's not a lot of money to be made because people who are really passionate are competing over there. But
correct.
if you look at petroleum or like these big industries, that may be something that doesn't interest anyone. That's not
Yeah,
something which comes in the media every day. That's not something which is posted in the newspapers, or you don't see reels or like YouTube videos about those. But there's a lot of money to be made in there. I agree with that point. Yeah.
and this goes against this whole narrative about how you should always follow your passion. And I
Hmm.
found that interesting. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that we are so influenced by all the influencers, people who have made internet money or like quick money, like singers, rappers, all these celebrities. They make quick money. This is quite short lived. Like your career could be 5 to 10 years or 10 to 15 years at max, but you enjoy the wealth forever.
Yeah,
I think because of this influence, people think that their passion is music or arts or something like that. But maybe your real purpose is yet to be found out. And I do agree with your point that maybe money is made in some other fields, but your passion is somewhere else. So, yeah, it's a contradictory statement.
I guess, man. And I guess it's just two sides of the table.
Hmm.
And I guess that debate never ends. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me?
How's life for you?
It's good, bro. It's good. I feel like I've had like a great time talking to you and just exploring new narratives, new ideas. For a 17-year-old, I'm telling you this, just forget that the podcast is on. As a 17-year-old, I'm sure, I hope you know how much potential you have. And I really hope that you live up to it, man, because I'm 19 and you're 17. And like, as an elder brother, I can say that I really see like bright future, and I feel
Thank you.
like you could do a lot of things, bro. I feel like you could create impact that we
Mm.
were talking about. That's really possible. And yeah, man, I've had such a great time recording this. I feel like there's so many more aspects that I want to deep dive into, and I know that this is not the last time we'll be doing this. I'd love to, maybe if I ever come to Delhi or you ever come to Bangalore, we
Mm.
can have an offline podcast and just talk
Yeah, sure.
more
Mm.
about these details, man, about stuff about life. um, definitely going to be staying in touch and sort of catching up and seeing what can be done, like it's following your journey, following I carry quality. I'd love to, as I said, volunteer and maybe
Yeah, I
get
would love to have you on camp too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
Mm.
sure. Let's see what can be done about that. Thank you, man. How was your experience? Did you like it?
Yeah, I love talking to you. I enjoyed the podcast a lot.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you for having me.